Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by CacheFly. CacheFly.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and once again, time for Twit's audience survey. We'd really like to hear from you. It's only going to take a couple of minutes, really. That's all. Just go to twit.tv/survey and let us know what you think. Your anonymous feedback will help us make Twit even better. And thanks for your continued support. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. The show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Sunday, February 26th, 2017. This is episode 1367. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans. When it comes to the big decision of choosing a mortgage lender, work with one that has your best interest in mind. Use Rocket Mortgage for a transparent, trustworthy home loan process that's completely online at quickenloans.com/techguy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk computers and the internet and home theater and digital photography and smartphones and smartwatches and anything with a chip in it. That's what we do here every week at the Tech Guy Show. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number if you have a question, a comment, a suggestion. You want a little hand-holding on the information superhighway. 888-827-5536. We have a website. Of course we do. What kind of tech guy would I be if I didn't have a website? Actually, I have many websites. But the relevant site is techguylabs.com. And there's a reason why you might want to take a note of that, because that's where we put everything else. So if you remember that one site, everything else is there. Links to all the products and news stories I mentioned, answers to the questions. We even put audio and video of the show there after the fact. 1,367 shows now at techguylabs.com. And that's free. There's no sign up. You just, go right in there and visit. There's a search. If you hear something and you want to find it, you can search for it as well. Let's see. There's a link there to our chat room. We have a great chat room that's always open, 24/7. Most active, of course, during the shows. That is irc.twit.tv. You can do that with your browser, or if you're like an old timer like me and you remember Internet Relay Chat, you can use your Internet Relay Chat program to get in there. Ooh, sophisticated. So Mobile World Congress is beginning in Barcelona tomorrow, although in many ways it's begun already, because Sunday, the day before the show opens, they have press conferences. Samsung's press conference is actually going on right now. Nothing huge to report, because Samsung's decided to put off announcing its new phones until next month. So no news about Samsung phones, just Samsung tablets and computers and virtual reality, headsets. They have that Gear VR. Not even any watch announcements. They shipped new Gear S3 watches just a couple of months ago, so there's nothing new to report there. Other companies are also making announcements. Nokia is back in the phone business. And when they came back in an interesting way. They brought back one of the most popular phones they've ever made. Remember those old Nokia they called them candy bar phones? They're not smartphones. They have little screens, and the keyboard is a traditional phone keyboard, not a typing keyboard. It's just a phone keyboard right below the screen. They've revived their classic 3310. Which is a 16-year-old model, and it sold 125 million of them back in 2000. Well, it's back. It's back, and they claim 22 hours battery life. Isn't that 22 hours talk time. Many, many more hours if you don't talk, just in your pocket. But isn't that, one of the things we loved about those old phones? They'd go all week. You charge them once a week. And yes, Snake is back. That was the one game. Remember? You'd use the arrow keys to move a snake around on the screen. The 3310. It does have a web browser, but it's I don't know what you would do with it. You certainly wouldn't want to surf the internet on it. You wouldn't even want to surf the information superhighway on it. 31 days standby time. And it'll be inexpensive. I want to say cheap, but $51. I guess that's cheap. So this will be the burner phone you'll want, right? You'll see it at the checkout line of the grocery store. But these phones, of course, sell very well around the world. Not in the U.S., where we're willing to spend many hundreds of dollars on a phone. iPhones and Samsung Galaxy phones sell better, but the rest of the world, where money is tight, these are very popular phones. We barely use our phones as phones anymore, so it's not this would not be a desirable item for some. But welcome back to the 3310. BlackBerry also has a new phone, the Key One, that has that old BlackBerry keyboard. Remember the BlackBerries before Apple came out? BlackBerry was dominant. In fact, for many of us, certainly me, my last non-Apple smartphone, barely call it a smartphone, was the BlackBerry Curve in 2007. I was still using that. And it had that famous BlackBerry keyboard. They've brought that keyboard back, and it's available on the Key One, which is now an Android phone, though, not BlackBerry OS. I think the thing that, to me, is most interesting is Motorola has updated its inexpensive, but you've heard me recommend it many times, I think really excellent G phone. The Motorola G5 and G5 Plus were announced today. $211 for the G5. That's the smaller of the two. 5-inch 1080p display. It's a slower processor, but more than adequate. I think real people don't say, well, what processor's in there? It's not the 835, but I don't want it. It's not. It's the 430, but it's fine. It's fine. 16 or 32 gigs of storage, depending on what you buy. A pretty good, decent 13-megapixel camera. Aluminum, gray, gold, and if you live in Europe, the Middle East, or Asia, blue. I don't know why they don't have blue for us. For $30 more, actually not even that much, $20 more, you can get 5.2 inches, faster Snapdragon 625 chip, a little more memory, a little more RAM, maybe a little better camera. It's got autofocus and stuff, and a little bit bigger battery. And that'll be in gray and gold. That's the G5 Plus. These are the phones, $200 basically. These are the phones that I recommend often for people who want a smartphone, but they don't want to pay $1,000 or $800 for it. And I'm glad to see they're updating it. This will have the latest version of Android, Nougat, or Android 7.0. And Motorola is usually keeps it very clean. They don't modify it too much. They add a few nice little features that actually I think are quite well implemented. And this is a big story, Google is now putting its newer voice recognition tool, the Google Assistant, on newer phones, and it will be available. The Google Assistant will be replacing the Google Now voice on these phones. And the Assistant's really good. It's really good. So, good camera, improved battery life. This is a nice choice. I'm glad to see it. If you're an LG fan, they announced a G6, which is an update to the original LG. One with the G6 is, I think, one of the last major phone manufacturers to do a removable battery, and I think the G6 will have it. The G6 Plus will lose it. It'll have a sealed-in battery, but battery life as a result. See, when you make a battery that's removable, I like that for a couple of reasons. One, if Samsung had done that with the Note 7, the exploding phone, all they would have had to do is replace the battery, and you'd be good to go. But because it was sealed in, you had to bring the whole phone back, and that's that. So I like that. I also like it that you can buy a second battery and snap it in if you run out of juice. But because you have to make these batteries removable, you have to enclose them and, make them safe, because as we've learned, lithium-ion batteries need to be enclosed. They need to be safe. So you don't have as much room for battery. And so the removable batteries don't give you as much juice as the sealed-in batteries. I think that's a fair trade. I would like to see more removable batteries. I think that's a dying trend, though. The fact that even LG is now saying, well, maybe we'll make one without a removable battery. Sorry. Samsung did do, at the beginning of their press conference, made some apologies for the debacle that was the Note 7. They said we didn't meet our high-quality standards, and we know that we can only earn our trust back, your trust back, with action, not words. They talked a lot about how they're going to work to make their next phones safer. I hope so. But those announcements, the S8 and presumably the Note 8 will be later this year. S8 will be next month. So that's kind of an update of what's going on in Barcelona. That and some really good food, wine, and dancing. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Let's go to the phones right after this. That's what they're doing. They're all discoing out in the Barcelona there. All the tech journalists at the Mobile World Congress. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. We're going to talk with you about your computer, your internet. And when you call, you'll be talking to the amazing Heather Hammond. We call her the Phone Ranger. She's hidden off in a separate soundproof booth far, far away from me. Hey, Heather Hammond. How are you?
Hey, good. How are you? Are you ready to accept your...
Ready to rock? I am. Who should I start with here?
George in Santa Monica has a question about copyrighted pictures.
All right. Hello, George in Santa Monica. How are you? Welcome to the Tech Guy Show.
Good morning, Leo. On an on and off drizzly day in Santa Monica, I have a question. If I send pictures to a place where they're going to put them up on a podcast show, and the picture says at the bottom, may be subject to copyright. If they're shown on the podcast and, there's no money involved, we're not trying to sell the pictures. We just want to make comments of the pictures, make funny comments, they have a picture. We try to make funny lines to the picture. Is that anything a problem for the person that's putting it up on the podcast?
Well, what you're talking about is something called fair use. If it's something is copyrighted, that means, that the person who made the image says you can't use it unless you license it or I give you permission. You actually don't have to license it unless I give you permission. And typically that is you'd pay them and they'd use it. But there's an exception, or maybe not even an exemption to the copyright law. It's called fair use, and it's something news organizations use. First of all, it is very fuzzily encoded in the Digital Millennium Copyright Act and the Copyright Acts in general. Actually, the DMCA kind of doesn't acknowledge fair use, but most courts do. It is not it's what we call a defense. So this might worry you a little bit. It is how you would defend yourself if the copyright holder would go after you. It doesn't prevent them from going after you, but you would, when you go to court, you would defend it, saying, well, this was fair use. And you can Google the rules for fair use, but there are a few different tests for fair use that the courts have used in the past. But as I said, this is not encoded exactly in law. It doesn't say exactly what fair use is. So you're just going to kind of have to throw yourself at the mercy of the court. Generally speaking, most people acknowledge that if you're using a copyright work as part of using a portion of the copyright work as for commentary purposes on a news program, that's fine. That's why the news can have clips from other news shows. You can see Fox News on CBS, and they don't have to ask permission to use that because it's fair use. They're commenting on it. It's newsworthy. If your podcast is in a news show, that gets a little bit more difficult to defend, but you're commenting on it. You also, we were always told by NBC and certainly any radio station I've worked at, you can't use copyrighted work, and this is particularly true of music, as a production element, as a way to make your show more exciting or more interesting. There's also an argument that the use of the copyrighted work, the fair use of it, can't diminish the value of the work. And that was where the photographer might go after you. He might say, well, by putting the picture up on the screen, you're giving it away, you're using it to make money, or not. You said it's non-commercial. By the way, that is not relevant. That is not included, whether you make money or not. That is not part of the defense. If you're asking me whether you should do it, I would say it'd be easier to defend should the person go after you if you didn't show it full screen, but you showed yourselves next to it or in front of it, because then it wouldn't diminish the value of the work. I would also give credit to the photographer. That's not required in the fair use defense, but it is something that would make the photographer feel better. So the two things a photographer wants to, kind of do is protect himself against having his work stolen, by somebody else printing it and putting it up on the wall. So by not showing it full size and by putting yourself in front of it or artwork in front of it, that kind of helps. Giving him credit helps. Giving out a website that you got it from helps. But if you're not doing it for news commentary purposes, it's a little difficult to defend. If it's part of an entertainment podcast, which it sounds like it is, you're in effect using his work to create your own work. That's a little bit more tricky to defend. But as I said, first of all, I didn't say it, but I want to say it now. I'm not a lawyer. And it's very fuzzy. This is, oddly enough, one of the ways Google, or the only way at this point, Google is defending itself against Oracle. Oracle says Google is illegally using Java in its phones. Phones do use Java. Oracle owns Java. But Google says, no, we aren't using your Java. We made our own Java. It's a programming language. We just duplicated the APIs. Then the court said, well, we believe you can copy. APIs are the interface. So in effect, Google said, look, we didn't use your Java code at all. We just made sure that what we wrote worked the same way as yours did. And Oracle said, no, we copyrighted that interface. You can't use that. The courts agreed, which was, I thought, a mistake, but the courts agreed. And now Google and Oracle are fighting in court over whether it's fair use for Google to use Oracle's copyrighted programmer's interface. Oy, 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 oy. Is that complicated or what? It's also a very strange thing to try to defend. I think you're probably asking me, George, if it's okay. And if it's an entertainment show and you're using other people's images in your show as part of the entertainment, I think that person might have cause to go after you. You're not going to go to jail for this. The guy would actually have to take you to court, sue you for copyright infringement. Your defense, as I said, would be, well, it's fair use, and then it would be up to the judge or jury to decide. That's how this whole thing works. Nobody wants to go to court. So my suggestion is to kind of mitigate it as best you can by, making it a low-quality copy of the image. The photographer's not feeling like you stole it. The best procedure would be to go ask them. Say, hey, you mind if we use this? We're going to have some fun with it. Fair use is not it's not clearly codified. There's a good article, though, on Wikipedia that does as good a job as I've ever seen explaining how fair use works. And they start out by saying fair use is a legal doctrine in the U.S. that permits limited use of copyrighted material without acquiring permission. And it's, according to the Supreme Court, an affirmative defense. So that's a little different from what I said. But it's complicated. I guess the answer is it's complicated. It's a good question, though, and we see it all the time. It's so easy now to use pictures. Here's another question people often say, can I use somebody's copyrighted picture in my blog post? No, you can't. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. It's very complicated. Yeah, we could put that Petapixel article in there, too. Photographers are particularly sensitive to this because they feel like it's it undermines their business. This is an interesting but kind of not exactly related case of ownership. You remember a couple of Oscars ago, Ellen DeGeneres got everybody together for a group selfie, but she couldn't reach far enough ahead of her. So she had Bradley Cooper press the button. Technically, the question is, who owns that selfie? It was Ellen's camera. She set it up, but Bradley pushed the button. Bradley's the photographer. Who owns it? Now, there's no court case pending, so we don't know, but it's kind of an interesting Oscar-related case. Should call Bill Handel. Find out what Bill Handel says. But it is an important point that if you're doing a blog and you're just taking images off the web to illustrate it, that is clearly not fair use, and would be infringing, judged infringing by any court, I would think. But again, I'm not a lawyer. Call Bill Handel. Yeah, copyright's automatic. You get a copyright as soon as you make anything. You don't have to apply for a copyright or register a copyright or anything like that. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. It's Disco Week on the Tech Guy Show. Thank you, Crystal, our musical director. She's spinning the disco hits. 8888 Ask Leo. Next, Joe in Anaheim. Hi, Joe. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy.
Hi, Leo. Good day.
Good day. I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. So I'm calling in about RFID and wallets.
Okay.
It's not just for traveling, but, going to the store, anybody can get their identity taken. So I wanted to know how valid the wallets are and which ones would be a good one to look into and purchasing.
RFID is a passive technology. It's a little chip. You see it in a lot of things. It's in your passport, for instance. It's in Walmart. At one point demanded that anybody selling products to Walmart would put RFIDs into the products so that they could do automated inventory. And the concern, it's also in your, your toll transponder, as you go through the toll, the fast track or whatever it is. It is not, it doesn't have any energy associated with it. It is not NFC. It's different. So don't confuse it with NFC or if you have a PIN, a chip card rather, a credit card, that's not RFID. If you chip your pet, that's RFID. And in order for it to work, an electromagnetic field has to be passed over it that activates the chip. The chip then puts out a serial number. Usually those two go together. There's a reader that puts a field over the chip. The chip goes, I'm 13455, and the reader catches that and then associates that with a record. That's how they chip, when you chip your pet, that's how they read it. RFID is designed not to be very far-field technology, not to work too far away. Although, obviously it works far enough because you can drive through a toll booth and the transponder will be triggered. So the question is, if I have an RFID tag in this is probably the biggest one, in my passport, the real question would be, could a terrorist detect in my pocket that I'm a U.S. citizen and explode a bomb near me? That's the thing people are really aware of. There's also, the concern if you have an Oyster card to get onto the subway in London, or you have a Metro card in L.A. to get onto the subway or the buses. Maybe somebody could steal your Metro card. You can't really pick it up for very far away, although hackers have demonstrated, some distant RFID. But I think it's a kind of a complicated, tricky thing to do. The best way to protect yourself against this, as you point out, is with a wallet. And the way these wallets work is they have, some sort of metallic fiber in them. And that will absolutely stop the beam that activates the RFID tag and reads the number off of it. So, unless it's poorly designed, but anything usually they do so it's flexible, not a piece of metal, but metallic thread cloth in there. And that works. You can verify it works simply enough by trying to read something through it. So I do think that works. There's no group that, validates RFID wallets. So you're kind of trusting that the person who made it properly. But I think that's probably a good idea. I certainly would do it with a passport.
Okay.
But again, there's some question about how dangerous this is, how far away you can read an RFID tag. And I think that, well, I'm pretty sure, now correct me if I'm wrong, chat room, I'm pretty sure that's the technology used in toll transponders. So if that's the case, then, 6 or 10 feet, that's a pretty good distance, right? I may be wrong. The electronic toll collection in California, anyway, the fast track, is RFID. So It's probably not the same kind of RFID as in a passport, but I would say that, you know, be careful, right? Do fast track transponders have batteries in them? All right, maybe they are RFID, but if they're, I don't think they do have batteries because I've never charged mine. Yeah, I think you'd be smart. I think you would be smart to get a metallic wallet. You don't. The chip cards are different. So nowadays we're all getting credit cards with chips in them. Those are not RFID. Those are NFC or near field communications. Those are even more difficult to read. That's why you have to put that chip card into a thing, or you have to tap your phone or your watch, your NFC-enabled watch or phone, tap it against the thing. It has to almost touch to be read. A little bit more difficult to read. And so I don't think as much of a risk, you know, of somebody kind of, they'd have to swipe your butt. They'd have to swipe your wallet with something. You'd have to sit on something that's a reader. But, you know, nowadays wallets with the metal fiber are fairly commonplace. They're not expensive. They're not uncomfortable. They don't have plates of metal in them. I think they work. You know, there's a related story about keys. If you have keyless entry in your car, it's been demonstrated time and time again that is fairly easy to hack. And the hack is you go to eBay, you buy a $20 amplifier. Now, you know the keyless entry, as you get closer to your car, you can get in and even start the car with a start button, right? And most new cars have them. The little fobs, the keyless entry fobs, have to be within, say, 6 feet of the car before it recognizes you. But here's the thing. These little amplifiers you buy on eBay can pick up the signal from the fob even if you're inside. And the person with the amplifier can walk up to your car, pick up your fob signal, amplify it to the point the car thinks you're next to it, open the door, and the guy can get in and drive off. And this has happened. We've heard of stories of people saying, I was watching a guy walk down the street and just open car one after another. And that's because the homeowner inside, even though the homeowner is 30 or 40 feet away, had a key fob, a keyless entry system, and that little amplifier, and they're cheap and easy to find, was able to amplify it to the point where he could get into the car. For that reason, a lot of experts say you really should keep your key fobs in one of these metal mesh bags. I have one that's got metal fiber cloth, and you can again validate that by putting it in the bag, getting up, and make sure the bag's sealed. By the way, a hole in the bag is enough. Make sure the bag is closed entirely around the fob. Get up next to the car and see if you can open the door. And if you can't open the door, then it's working. If you can, then you better get a better bag. I think the same thing with RFID. I'm not too worried about RFID. There are people. I think this is illegal. You can, but if you watched Mr. Robot, the hacking show on the USA Network, you know, when he was concerned that he'd been, you know, caught, that the people had figured out who he was, first thing he did, took everything with RFID in it, put it in the microwave oven, and shorted it out. It goes a little explosion. Probably dangerous. I'm not recommending this. But that's, I think, what people sometimes do with their passports. Probably a federal offense, I'm guessing. I don't know. There are, somebody in the chat room, I made that too, says that there are RFID verified wallets. He's talking about, for instance, Ridge Wallet. But that is, yeah, because that's a metal plate. That is not going to be a very comfortable wallet. They're actually metal plates. Those certainly would work. Metal is very effective. They have them in aluminum, polycarbonate, titanium, or carbon fiber. But boy, that doesn't look comfortable. I'm not sure I'd want that in my hip pocket. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. 888-827-5536. Good question. Good question. We use RFID everywhere now. It's everywhere. And there are even people who have chipped themselves. There were some Mexican diplomats when kidnapping was a problem in Mexico who chipped themselves so they'd be identifiable, like a pet. 8888 Ask Leo. The website techguylabs.com. More of your calls coming up right after this. Our show today brought to you by our friends at Quicken Loans who do Rocket Mortgage. Rocket Mortgage. Love the Rocket. It's a transparent, fast, trustworthy home loan process that's completely online. So if it's time to buy a new house or time to refi your old house, choose, first of all, the best mortgage lender. Someone you can trust, someone who's working with your best interest in mind, and that's Quicken Loans. That is the best. All you have to do is go to quickenloans.com/techguy and look at all those J.D. Power customer satisfaction awards year after year. The #1 most loved mortgage lender for both origination and service. So these are good guys. They are, I think, the second largest mortgage lender in the country. But then, even more than that, they're looking out for you, us, geeks. They know that we like to do everything online, right? We don't want to go to a bank and bring a box of paperwork and go back and forth for days, weeks. The last time we bought a house, Lisa and I bought a house almost 4 years ago, it took us 6 weeks of back and forth and faxing documents. It was crazy. This takes minutes. And you can submit the pay stubs and your bank statements, everything they need online with a touch of a button. You can do it on your phone, you can do it on your tablet, and you can do it anywhere. As long as you can get online, and you'll get approved in minutes. Plus, you can even, there's sliders for rates and term and everything. So you completely control it. Great mortgage lender and a really easy-to-use great system for mortgage approval that's completely online. That's Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Go to quickenloans.com/tech, and you better believe that when we refi or buy our next house, we're going to be doing that. quickenloans.com/techguy. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. And MLSConsumerAccess.org, number 3030. quickenloans.com/techguy. Rocket Mortgage. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I want to correct myself. Apparently, not all chipped credit cards are NFC. Some have NFC. If you can tap the card on a tap-to-pay terminal, that's NFC, near field communications. But the chip itself is not using NFC. It is a different, similar protocol with better crypto, obviously. It's got a little more processing power when you put that card in the chip reader. But if you use tap to pay on your phone, if you use tap to pay on your watch, you're using NFC for that. And the point being, in both cases, the credit card and the NFC tap to pay, those are very close range. You really have to be right in there. And that means that nobody's going to read your credit card chip information off your wallet. RFID goes a little farther, given the right conditions. And so you might want to have, if you have an RFID passport, for instance, you might want to have a shielded wallet for that. Paul in Ventura, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Paul.
Leo, you are an amazing resource. You and the show I count on all the time to keep me on top of the latest info. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks for calling.
Sure. When I first moved to California, I moved to Petaluma. That was 1983, and it used to be the home of the wrist wrestling champion.
That's right. Yeah, they have, it's interest here in Petaluma in wrist wrestling seems to have waned. I don't know why. But it is a beautiful town.
Yeah, it is beautiful. And I had been back 20 years later. I moved out after about 3 years, and it had changed significantly. Yeah, well, this was this was a farm community, but now because we're an hour away from San Francisco, it is as much a commute community, a suburb of San Francisco as anything else. What can I do for you, though? I mean, let's talk tech, huh? Well, the fact that I moved there in '83 after high school might give you an indication of my age, but because of that, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and you were talking about wearing a hearing aid. Yeah. And I was surprised to hear that, and I was curious, what model do you favor? Have you tried many? I haven't tried many. I have a occupational hearing loss because most people who work in radio wear headphones, and I've worked in radio for 40 years. I'm 60, so it's not unusual to start losing your hearing. My hearing's not so bad that I have to have a hearing aid, but I was very interested in modern hearing aid technology from a number of angles. One, nowadays hearing aids can be used in conjunction with a smartphone, and that gives you some interesting capabilities. But two, I think that their in-ear devices are rapidly going to be part of the wearable scene. Apple's clearly moving in that direction with their AirPods. You know, when you have something that's in your ear, it can know a lot about you. It certainly knows your heart rate. It can see
blood oxygen, believe it or not. It might even be able to read blood pressure, and it can talk to you. And so Apple with the AirPods is at the very earliest stages of this. You tap the AirPod in your ear twice, and you can talk to Siri, and Siri can talk to you, and no one around you can hear what Siri is saying. This is one of the reasons people want wearables, this idea that you could wear glasses or have a watch or something that would indicate to you, kind of without anybody knowing, information about the world around you. And in-ear devices, I think, may well be kind of the perfect place to put these kinds of wearables. So I was interested from that angle, too. A friend of mine has hearing aids that work with the iPhone. They're from a company called Starkey, one of the big hearing aid manufacturers. This is a U.S.-based hearing aid manufacturer. They're out of California, out of Berkeley, actually. And their Starkey Halo product works with the iPhone. But you'll notice if you go to accessibility on the iPhone, that part of accessibility is hearing aids. And so there are a number of iPhone-ready hearing aids. And these are kind of neat. They give you a couple of additional features. For instance, it can use the GPS in the phone to have different settings. So you can have a setting for a particular restaurant or concert hall or movie theater. And when you walk into that place, the hearing aid will automatically change its equalization, change its level to match that place. You set it ahead of time, and then every time from then on, it will automatically respond that way. I think that's kind of cool. You can control it directly from the interface of the smartphone. And with at least iPhones, I haven't been able to get this working with Android, but with iPhones, you can listen to music or, in my case, audiobooks or radio through the hearing aids. So I could be walking around wearing my hearing aids and listening to the radio. It's really great during important baseball games. You're old enough to remember when I was a kid, and I bet you remember, during the World Series, you'd be sitting in 6th grade with a transistor radio in your ear and hoping the teacher didn't notice. Right?
Yes, I do. I remember under my pillow at night. Get away from
yeah, same thing. Right. So
you make it sound great, but when I went to the Costco for a test drive, and they have 2 models there, and I don't remember the brand names because I'm on the road, and so I don't have the literature with me, but one was, I think, $3,000 a pair, and one was 16.
They're horrifically expensive.
Yeah, tremendously. But they were also very jarring. I stuck it in my ear, and I walked around the store, and it sounded kind of tinny.
Well, and that was one of the things I did learn by getting them, and I don't wear mine very often, is that I had hopes that they would be hi-fi. And hearing aids are not designed to be high fidelity. They're designed to do one thing, make it easier to understand voices. So the amplification is all in the vocal range. And it also amplifies stuff that you and I haven't been hearing for a while, high-end frequencies. So I would hear my shoes against the carpet. I'd hear my clothes rustling, things I didn't hear, I hadn't heard in years, and didn't want to hear. Not only that, and this is probably what was most jarring to you, no hearing aid covers blocks your hearing. It doesn't replace your hearing, it augments your hearing. So you hear your voice coming through your head, and slightly later, just a little bit later, a millisecond or two later, through the hearing aid, which gives it an odd chorusing effect. And all of these things you get used to, but initially, it actually takes some training. And in fact, a good audiologist, if you spend time with them, will give you homework, things to do to train yourself to get used to the hearing aids. In other words, it isn't this holy grail. In fact, I'm a little bit more interested in what Apple's doing with the AirPods. I think you could make the case that Apple is moving in that direction. Now, those are full fidelity, right? Those can reproduce music. So they might make really an interesting hearing aid for people. Music would sound better because they have microphones built in too. So they could pick up, you could go to a concert and they'd pick up the sound, correct it for your hearing loss, and pump it into your ears, and suddenly you'd be hearing the music like you heard it when you were 21. But this is not here yet.
Interesting. So when you bought your mother a pair, what did you get her?
Starkey Halos. She hasn't bought them yet, but she went to the audiologist to get fitted. The Resound is an R-E-Z-O-U-N-D, another company that does smartphone aware, and I haven't tried them. But I am sure, it's my understanding, they're all doing essentially the same thing, because they're coming from the point of view of, let's make, what is the problem they're solving? As you get older, it's harder to understand what people are saying. And that's the most important problem. Not, understanding dialogue in movies, not hearing full fidelity concert sound. That is not what a hearing aid is designed to do. So I think it's important to understand the limitations and what the technology is doing. In other words, it wasn't. I did this to learn, and that's what I learned. So for me, mission accomplished. But should you spend thousands of dollars on a hearing aid? Well, only if what you want to fix is the ability to understand what people are saying to you at a restaurant, in a TV or movie, that kind of thing.
I think that's true. I'm at the point where it's kind of embarrassing to say, pardon me, what did you say?
Yep.
I hate that.
My wife made me get them, and usually it's often our significant others who say, honey, we're going to the audiologist today because I'm tired of you not hearing me.
Yeah.
Or turning up the TV really loud.
Yeah. All right. Well,
thanks, Paul.
Have you heard anything about the Phantom 5?
The new DJI Phantom? DJI?
I heard rumors of a Phantom 5 potentially coming out. Have you heard anything?
No, I don't. I haven't. I am not the, as you probably know, it sounds like you listen to our shows, I am not the drone expert. We have a priest. We call him the drone father, who is our expert. And I'll ask Father Robert if he knows anything about a new version of DJIs. Those Phantoms are the best drones out there right now. Really cool. Nice to talk to you. Thanks, Paul. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches.
I can't find the answer to the question.
And Amazon's Echo. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. I've set up my Echo, which is right next to me, to respond to the word computer. That was maybe a mistake. 888-827-5536, toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada outside that area. Well, you can still call. Just use Skype. Skype out. It'll work fine. Our website, techguylabs.com. And Tom is on the line from Valdosta, Georgia. Hello, Tom.
Hey, how you doing, Leo?
I am well. How are you?
Hey, much better now that I have you on the phone.
Well, thanks for being patient and hanging on.
Yeah. I'd like to thank you for all you do. I've been a fan of yours for the past 20 years.
Thank you.
I have a question. My hard drive, well, not my hard drive, but my computer takes anywhere from 15 hours to 30-plus hours before the window screen comes up.
Wait a minute. Say that again? Your computer takes how long?
15 to 35 hours before the window screen comes up.
So you push the on-off switch and you go away for a day.
That's what I do.
Well, that's not right.
Yeah.
How long's that been going on?
I guess for the past 3 months.
You're a very patient man, Tom.
Well, I turn it on and leave it on.
You don't ever turn it off.
Right.
Yeah. So it works normally otherwise. It's not. Yeah. Just boot up, huh?
But that's all. Well, just for some insight, it started off at like 15 minutes, then it went to 30 minutes, 2 hours, and now it's...
How old is your computer?
About 2 years old.
Okay, that's really messed up. That's not good.
Yeah. but what I did is I swapped hard drives out, and the hard drive works in another machine.
Okay.
So I was thinking maybe...
Does the other machine boot?
Yeah, the other machine boots fine.
To that hard drive? No. Are you booting up to that hard drive?
No, I think you've misunderstood what
I know. No, I understood. You put it in that other machine, but one thing that you didn't do, because you can't, probably, is boot up from that hard drive in the other machine. That's the thing that takes a long time, starting up.
Right.
So here's what my theory is. That the part of the drive that's read only during the startup process is damaged.
But the hard drive, I take it and put it in another machine.
I understand. Do you boot up in that other machine?
Yes, works fine.
From that hard drive?
From that hard drive.
Oh, that's interesting. Because typically you wouldn't be able to, because it's, the different operating, different machine and stuff. But all right, so you're able to you replace the drive, the boot drive in that other machine with this drive that didn't work in the original machine.
That's correct.
And it boots just snappy as heck.
Oh, very snappy.
Well, now it's puzzling because obviously the hard drive's fine. That's the first thing you think of is, well, the hard drive's got... 30 hours is a really long time. It's possible... I mean, I can't understand why that's happening. It makes no sense at all. now you want to check the cables connecting the hard drive.
I've did all that. I've been very thorough. I've even changed the memory in the motherboard.
Well, I can't think of. What's really interesting is, I mean, usually in a case like that, even if it's a hard drive error, it wouldn't boot at all. It would, it would give up long before a day and a half.
That's right.
But the fact is, a day and a half later, it finishes and gets, okay, I can run now, and everything's normal.
That's exactly the symptoms.
Well, I mean, clearly now we're going to have to look at something a little bit more tricky. The other thing I would try with this computer, and maybe you've tried this, is booting from another disk on the bad computer to see if it's the computer itself. You could even do this pretty simply by downloading a copy of Linux, which is a free operating system.
I've been that route.
So you've tried a Linux boot disk in that computer, and it boots. And how does it work? It works.
It's a little slow, but it works. It's an old version of Linux Mint. It's about 2 years old. So
you're able to boot, and it does boot up in a. How long does it take to boot up with Linux Mint?
Oh, about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes.
Okay, so it's a little more normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's slow because it's probably a slow drive or whatever. Maybe is it from a CD or a DVD? Whatever. 2 minutes is a normal boot time. So, oh wow, that's really interesting. So it's not the hardware of the computer, right? Because if it were the hardware, it would work. It would work the same way with Linux Mint as with Windows. So pretty clearly, it is something on that hard drive of yours. That's why it puzzles me that it boots fine on that second computer. When you're booting up to Linux Mint, is it a USB key? How are you booting up to it?
I have another hard drive that has Linux Mint on it.
Okay, so you're using the same hard drive controller as the one that's giving you trouble.
No, I have a different hard drive.
Yeah, but it's the same controller, right? It's the hardware, the motherboard, the controller is the same.
Right, yes, control, yes, all that.
Oh, now you really got me. Well...
It's the only problem I've never been able to solve. So I thought I would call you.
Well, I think you've narrowed it down to that hard drive. But it's odd, and that's why you've got conflicting results here. Because if it is that hard drive, why does it work fine on another computer? Beats me. I don't know. Anybody in the chat room want to make a suggestion, or anybody want to call 8888 Ask Leo? I am baffled. Now, one of the things you can maybe do is look at the event log and the boot log and see if there's something going on. But why? It just does. It seems like those are conflicting tests. We narrowed it down to the hard drive because the computer works fine using a different hard drive with a different operating system. Works fine. It only takes a day and a half to start up when it's that hard drive. And yet, so, I mean, that sounds like it's that hard drive, right? And yet, when you use that hard drive in a different computer, it starts up just fine. Any thoughts? 8888 Ask Leo. I can't think of what it could be. The reasonable thing to do at this point would be to format the bad hard drive. I have to say bad hard drive. Format the bad hard drive, reinstall Windows, and see if you can fix things. The other thing, I was going to say maybe it's something USB device that's slowing it down. That's not unusual. Unplug all the USB devices when you're booting up and see if it boots faster. What else could slow it down like that, huh? You know what's nice about these solid-state drives, these modern drives, you might want to replace it with a solid-state drive. They boot in seconds. Not minutes, not hours, not days, seconds. I think it's still the hard drive, and I think perhaps when you boot it in the second machine, you're not booting from it, or I don't know. Start over. That's all I can say. That's a good one, Tom. You got the question of the week. Baffling. Alan in Desert Hot Springs. Hey, Alan, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
I I've been listening to you for many miles on my daily walk, so thanks again.
Good. Thank you. You're in better shape than I am, no doubt.
I'm a snowbird, and we're down here for the winter.
Nice. Yeah, you sound like you might be from somewhere up there by Maine.
No, I'm actually originally from the UK.
Ah, got it. Very similar, the Maine and the UK accents. I missed that one completely. Hey, we got to take a break. We're got a commercial break coming up. Hang on though, and we'll get to your call. I appreciate your calling in. 8888 Ask Leo. Anybody got an idea about Tom from Valdosta's problem? Maybe you got some suggestions. You can visit us in the chat room at irc.twit.tv. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Why would there's a conflict in the tests. Something's missing. Yeah, I would wipe the drive and start over, but it's just strange. I don't even know how something could take a day and a half to boot. I've never heard of that. I just throw that drive out and start over. Push the turbo button. That's right. That's it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. Let's see here. Oh, we were talking to Alan in Desert Hot Springs. Hi, Alan, the snowbird from the UK. Sorry we had to put you on hold. Thanks for hanging on.
No problem. I'm interested in home security I am actually from Canada, but while we're away from home down here for the winter, I cut back my internet service provider.
Yeah, you want to keep an eye on your house up north, though, right?
Yes, but I suspend my TV, phone, and internet, of course, just to save me some money.
Right.
But is it possible to still have wireless security at home, even though my service may be suspended?
Well, you do need internet if you want to watch it. I mean, if you don't mind, you certainly could have cameras recording, but you'd have to wait till you got home to see what they recorded. Without internet, there's no way to communicate with them, obviously, right? Now, there are cameras, and this might be a solution for you. You still have to pay for internet access, but there are cameras that use LTE. So you could have a security camera that doesn't use your main internet, which you've turned off, but just uses the local cell carrier. And that might be less expensive. I don't know. But Netgear makes a camera, for instance, that is it's called the Arlo Pro, and it has built-in LTE, and it's designed for but also battery. It's designed for locations that don't have access to Wi-Fi or power. And you just put it on the wall, but you're going to need to have a service plan through your carrier. In the U.S., it's AT&T. I don't know who it would be in Canada.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Obviously, you got to have something that will let you communicate with the camera.
Yes.
Otherwise,
there's nothing on the market that would record to I guess if I was recording to a box, it wouldn't really matter, would it?
Right. And there are plenty of cameras that will record to a DVR, but you'd have to get home to see what was on the DVR.
Yes, I would, yeah.
Yeah. So the only way you could see it in Florida or Desert Hot Springs, or where I guess I take it Desert Hot Springs is in California.
Yes.
Yeah. It sounds like a perfect place to flee the snow from. You know, perfect. Desert Hot Springs. Yeah. What could be better? If the only way you'd be able to see what's going on in your Canadian home in the Desert Hot Springs is via some sort of connection, I guess it'd be possible to make something that you could telephone in, but then it'd be very slow. I think you're going to need some sort of internet connection. LTE is not too bad.
All right.
All right. So that's the Arlo Pro, and that's from Netgear. That's one I know of. I'm sure there are others as well. But, you can't do it magically. You've got, if you think about it, you need to be able to get to that camera and see what's on it. Lee in Maplewood, Minnesota. Hey, Lee, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, can you hear me?
I hear you great. Welcome.
Yes, I need a recommendation for some Acer Chromebooks.
Oh, yeah. So I love Chromebooks. We talk about them all the time. I recommend them to a lot of people. It's a much simpler computer. It runs the Chrome OS from Google, which is, don't tell anybody, but it's Linux. modified in such a way that the only thing you can do is run the browser. Now, the good news is the Chrome browser has a lot of extensions that let you do everything from photo editing to note-taking to word processing, spreadsheets, and more. So in almost every respect, you can do what you would do on any computer on a Chromebook, but they're less expensive, and because they're designed this way, they're much more secure. I love them. There's been a real explosion in Chromebooks because they're used heavily in education. In fact, it's now the #1 computing platform in education, eclipsing Microsoft's Windows. But it's also used, I think, by anybody who doesn't need a lot of my college student daughter used a MacBook for the first 3 years. I got her a Chromebook, and she far prefers it. It's lighter, it's simpler, it's more secure, and everything she does is stored in the cloud, so she can get to her data anytime. So you mentioned Acer. That's one of the companies. Google makes them. I have one from Samsung that I just got, the Chromebook Plus, which is very nice, $450. Dell has some new ones. It really depends how much power, how important aesthetics are to you. The more you spend, obviously, the nicer the hardware is. The new Acer has some very nice ones. The new Acers and the Dells and the Samsungs are all aluminum body. They're faster processors. They have more RAM in them. They have better screens, but they're more expensive. They run $500 and up. But you can also get $200 Chromebooks from other companies like HP that they're a little cheesy, a little plasticky, but boy, the price is right. So you said Acer are you asking me about Acer only?
That's what I was recommended when I went to Best Buy.
Yeah. So the top of the line Acer, and by the way, there's a new one coming any minute now. The top of the line Acer is, I think, the Flip is considered by many to be the best Chromebook out there. One of the reasons that you want it is these newer Chromebooks that came out this year, including the Acer, support the Android Play Store as well as Chrome extensions. Then suddenly you can run a million other applications, including photo editors. It's just great stuff that's available on any Android device. You can also run on your Chromebook. So there are some really good Chromebooks out there. The new Acer is due any minute now. I just saw, and this is one of the things I think is interesting, one of the problems with a lot of Chromebooks is they don't have fast processors. They don't have a lot of RAM. Acer and Dell are putting out Chromebooks that are more expensive but do have more processing power. I just saw a rumor yesterday that the newest Acer Chromebook, the aluminum one, I'm trying to remember what the model number is, at R13, the aluminum one will have more than 4 gigs of RAM and will have faster Intel processors. If you want a more powerful Chromebook, if for instance you open a lot of tabs in your browser, or you do video editing or photo editing and you might want a more powerful one, it might be worth waiting a little bit. But yeah, I very much like it. Here, let me give you a site that I really like. They have a very good review. They recommend the Dell Chromebooks, but they talk about other Chromebooks as well. It's called The Wirecutter. I've recommended it before. They're a product review site owned by Amazon now. They just got purchased. They say the Dell Chromebook 13 is the one to get. I'm not sure I agree because I don't think it has a touch screen, and I think you really do want a touch screen. But others they recommend include the Acer 15-inch Chromebook. And I believe that's only $250. I believe that there is going to be a higher-end Acer Chromebook soon.
So what I'm going to be doing is using my tax return, which is about $382.
But you do the tax return on a website, right?
Yeah. So
not with tax software. Because, for instance, you can't get TurboTax on a Chromebook, but you can get TurboTax online on a Chromebook.
No, what I meant to say is I'm using the money for what I got.
Oh, you're using your refund. Ah.
Yeah.
What's your budget?
It is, I want to say like $380 is what I'm getting back.
Okay. Yeah, go get, the current Acer Chromebook. Go into Best Buy and try it. It's pretty nice. I think for that price, that's the best you're going to get. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. The newer, faster, higher-end Chromebooks are more than that. They're over $400. The one I was playing with, the Samsung Chromebook Plus, which I really like, is $450. So that sounds like it's out of your price range.
Yeah, I was recommended one for like $279 and one for $240.
That's the Acer Chromebook 15, I'm pretty sure. And
I need one that has Android apps, and I need something I can use for this. That I can use the Chromecast directly to my television.
All of them work. Yeah, if you get a 2017 Chromebook, they'll all work with Android. You'll want a touch screen because obviously an Android app expects touch. So look for one with a touch screen. And I like 4 gigs of RAM. I think that makes a big difference in performance. You can get the Acer Chromebook 15, which is a 4 gig with a Celeron for, I'm seeing it for 200. What is the price here? Something like $250. So it's well within your budget.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to be very happy. I mean, I think these are great little notebooks. The one thing you're giving up is it's not the under $300. The feel is going to be it's going to be plastic. The trackpad may not be great. That kind of thing.
Oh, I had one more question. Monoprice has some Chromebooks on sale. Would you recommend going there?
I love Monoprice. Let me see what they've got though. Unfortunately, what you really don't. You want to make sure that it'll run Android. And the older Chromebooks do not. Most of the older Acers do. Wow, they've got an Acer 11-inch for $125. But that is recertified. It's refurbed.
Are those not good to go for the recertified ones?
Yeah, I would be a little... Well, yeah, what that means is it could mean a couple of things. Could mean somebody bought it and said, nah, it's not for me, and returned it without using it or using it much, in which case, no problem. It could be used. What you don't want really is a used computer, but recertified usually just means they can't sell it new if the box was opened. So that's usually a pretty good deal. And I trust Monoprice. Yeah, they have a bunch of them.
So either that or Best Buy, one of those two.
Yeah. Here for $200 is a Chromebook 14. That's pretty good. Also recertified. Yeah, the prices are good. And the thing is, in your budget, there's going to be a limited number of... You want to get one from 2017 and one that supports Android. That's going to be a limited choice. So you're going to have to look at the specs and make sure it supports the Android store.
Yeah, like I said, the total price would be like $282.
Yeah, that's good.
Not $280.
Yeah, that's a great price.
Yeah. That's what I'm getting back. So that's what
yeah, perfect. I think you'd be very happy.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Enjoy. Take care.
Yep.
That music can mean but one thing. Time once again for our digital photography guru. Chris Marquardt is here. You'll find his podcast, Tips from the Top Floor, his workshops, and his work all at discoverthetopfloor.com. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
I am great. You are, as we speak, you are in Siberia?
Yes, we are pre-recording this. I'm in Siberia, probably right on top of Lake Baikal, the biggest liquid. Okay, let me get this right. The world's biggest liquid sweetwater reserve ever. It holds 20% of the world's sweetwater.
20% of the fresh water in the world is in this one lake?
Yes, well, the liquid. I think they don't count the Arctic.
Don't pee in there, okay? I'm just saying, you don't.
It's the clearest water in the world, and it's the deepest one.
Is that why you go there? Because it's beautiful? I mean, it's something to see?
It's beautiful. It's amazing. It freezes over. The temperature difference in Siberia, amazing. So in winter, that thing freezes to, I think, a sheet of ice of at least 6 to 9 to 10 feet.
Wow.
So you can drive on it. It's big. It's huge.
And you're going in March, so will it be warm?
It will be frozen. Oh. It will be frozen.
It will be warm.
I mean, Siberia has these massive temperature swings. I don't know what it's in Fahrenheit, but in summer it goes to plus 40 in Celsius, and in winter it goes to minus 40 Celsius.
Well, the good news is minus 40 is the same Celsius or Fahrenheit.
It's pretty much the same, yeah.
So it's cold. It's cold.
Well, we are probably only going to have about minus 20 Celsius.
Oh,
but
wow, that's warm. That's nothing.
Yeah, I love the ice. What can I say? I love it.
So what are we talking about today?
Well, I want to start diving a bit into one of my favorite topics, and that is wide-angle photography. If you shoot wide-angle, it is just a very different beast than if you shoot telephoto.
I like wide-angle. So if you have a point and shoot, it means just zooming all the way in, the closest.
Well, a wide angle means zooming all the way out, zooming all the way so you get as much as possible in the picture.
Yeah, I mean, the picture looks out, but the lens is in. I don't know which that means.
It's true.
The smaller number, right? It's the least zoom possible. And in most point and shoots, and certainly all smartphones, that's slightly wide. That's like equivalent of 28 to 35 millimeters on most cameras, right?
It depends on what camera you have, and then on some cameras you can put an additional wide-angle adapter in front of it, or if you shoot with a mirrorless camera or a DSLR, you can get a wide-angle lens for it. And
so what is wide angle? It's like 8 to 35 millimeters?
Oh, we're not going to go into these numbers because it really depends on what kind of a camera you have or the sensor sizes, and that kind of changes around. So, the one thing that I want to briefly talk about is shooting architecture with wide angle. Now, everyone can do this experiment. You take your camera, you zoom all the way in, so you go to the telephoto range, and then you just tip the camera up and down a bit and look at the vertical lines in the picture. And if you do this with telephoto, those vertical lines in the picture, like in walls architecture, those will kind of stay parallel to each other. They won't really move much. If you go wide angle, if you zoom all the way out so you get as much as possible in, and then you tip the camera up and down, you tip it back and forward and watch those vertical lines, and you will see them go and converge on the top and on the bottom, and it's really all really wonky. The moment you tip that camera just slightly, you will see a really big change if you are on the wide angle side of the lens. And the problem arises the moment you want to shoot architecture. If you stand in front of a building, that building is, well, it goes up, right? Buildings, I mean, they also go down into the ground, but that's not the part you see. You see the building above the ground. So in order to get this on your photo, what are you going to do? You will go wide angle, you will tilt the camera back, and then what happens to those lines of the building? They start to converge. So you get what's called falling lines. It looks like the building is kind of falling back from you. And that can look weird, especially in a certain range. It will look strange. And there are certain things you can do about it. Architectural photographers, professional architecture photographers will actually do a lot to make those lines parallel because it just looks more tidy, it looks more professional. So here are 3-4 ways that you can actually fix that you can do this, do the architecture photography even while tilting back the camera and still get those lines parallel and kind of tidy looking. And the first one is, the first one is kind of expensive. Get more wide angle, because what you can then do is you can pretty much leave the camera straight. So you don't tilt it, you leave it straight, and then just have the building in there, but you will also have a lot of foreground. So that's one way to do it, but I don't think people want to buy an extra wide-angle lens. So the second way to deal with it is going more telephoto, which means you'll have to get more distance between you and the building. You want to step back and zoom in a bit. And that means you can get the building on your photo, but you don't have to tilt the camera as much. And the less you tilt the camera, the more those lines will stay parallel. Now, of course, that depends on the space. If you are in an inner city, that will probably be more difficult. Another way you can do that is by changing your perspective, which means you change the location you shoot from. And what that means is to try to get on top of something, try to get higher up. If you want to shoot that building opposite of you, maybe try to get up a few floors in that building opposite of it. Ring someone's doorbell, ask them if you can use their window to shoot a photo. But this way you will be pretty much higher up, and that means you won't have to tilt the camera as much. You can leave the camera more straight. And the fourth way to fix that is use something that's called a shift lens. That is a lens that is a really expensive lens, a very specialized lens that architecture photographers use. But here is one that I think will work for almost everyone, even on your smartphone. Use a piece of software to do this. There is an iOS and Android software that has a weird name, but it does exactly that. It takes a picture that has falling lines and it allows you to make them parallel, and that is called SKRWT.
SKRW squirt?
I think they want to pronounce it screw it, but
okay, I get it.
SKRWT. And what it does is you pretty much give it a photo, and then you have sliders where you can pretty much change your perspective and fix that.
So it's all software.
It's software, yeah. And that means you can stand in front of the building, tilt the camera back, get all the wonky lines, and then put it into that software and just fix the perspective. By the way, if you have Lightroom, that's also built in there. So a lot of photo apps have that built in, at least the more professional ones. But SKRWT is the one, I think it's a couple of bucks. It's available for iOS and for Android. And I've used this several times to fix shots that I have taken with an iPhone and just kind of tilt them back.
Isn't that
it's a pretty
interesting?
Cool little nifty tool.
Yeah, that's how I usually do it in Lightroom. They have guides, and you can fix. It's called skew, right? Is that so? Maybe that they mean is skew it. No, there's an R in there. You're right.
They are not native English speakers. I think that's for sure.
Oh, it's skew it. Yes. Anyway, yeah. If you do it in software, you can correct all sorts of weird distortions in lenses, including, kind of curvature from a wide angle.
True.
Or tilting buildings that are about to fall on top of you. Our assignment's still good for a couple more weeks. Take a picture illustrating the word or concept break. We're not even going to spell it for you. Just break. Whatever that means to you, but do submit your picture to our special group on Flickr. Flickr.com is a Yahoo website for photo sharing. It's free to join. It's a great place to show your photos and ask people's comments. Put the word break in the tag, and then submit it to the Tech Guy group. Renee Silverman, our moderator, will welcome you if you're not already a member, and add it to the group, and in a few weeks, Chris will review. Have fun at the world's largest freshwater lake. Don't fall in. Chris Marquardt, the photo guy. DiscoverTheTopFloor.com. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. We're starting to see, talking about Chromebooks, we're starting to see a lot of variation and variety in Chromebooks, which is great. And I think 2017 is probably going to be the year where the Chromebook really explodes, really takes, I shouldn't use that term with a portable device anymore. People are nervous about exploding. I think we're going to see a lot of Chromebooks out there. It might be worth waiting, if you're on the market for a Chromebook, like our caller earlier this hour, it might be worth waiting a month or two, see what Dell's doing, Acer, Samsung. They have a Pro coming out in March with an Intel chip. There's some really interesting stuff going on. Famtana says, get off the Chromebook train, Leo. I'm not getting off this train. I like this train. I'm all aboard. Kenton, Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. Hi, Kenton. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy.
Hi. First-time caller, listened for about a year or so.
Great. Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, so my wife was trying to watch some new TV shows that came out online. Not speaking to the ethical side of that or not. But
it's your wife. She can do no wrong.
Yep. She saw a pop-up saying that her Flash player needed updating.
Uh-oh. Oh, boy.
Correct.
By the way, this is the risk of going to these sketchy sites. Right?
Yeah, she asked me, what's this little alien head doing up here in my menu bar? So I sat down and found a slew of Mac Keeper, Advanced Mac Cleaner.
Mac Keeper, oh, Lord.
Mega Backup, all that.
Yeah.
So I went through and I used App Cleaner and I got rid of them all.
Good.
Is that everything I need to do?
Well, so just to be clear, you have to be careful when this clearly is not part of a Flash update, right? You have to be careful when any site you go to suggests software downloads. That really is a red flag, because in order to take over your computer, a bad guy has to get you to download and install their stuff. And in this case, they, under the guise of it's a Flash update, probably what it did is it sent you to a site that you may even have gotten a Flash update, but wrapped around that Flash update was a bunch of sketch stuff like Mac Keeper. These aren't exactly malware. Depends on your definition. I define malware as something you didn't want that was put on your computer, does things to hurt you either in performance or privacy or security. And I think that Mac Keeper qualifies in all those regards. They're not called virus software because you accepted it. At some point, your wife, and it may have been in very small print, accepted it. So that's one thing they asked you, even though they asked you in a very deceptive way. And 2, you can remove it, and that's really the key. If you Google MacKeeper, you'll see that you can remove MacKeeper. I'm not sure what tools you used, but probably all of these things that she got, especially because it's a Mac, are removable. And you can disinfect. You've heard me say before, if you've listened, as you said, that you always have to worry if you get malware in a system because you don't know what other stuff might be there. And the worst scenario is you run something like Malwarebytes, which is legit, completely legit. It removes some of it, but doesn't remove all of it. And then you blissfully go your merry way, and you don't even know you've got bad stuff on your system, right? The worst stuff doesn't announce itself. It doesn't change your homepage. It doesn't pop up things. It secretly collects information about you and passes it along to the mothership. So you don't want that. However, on the Mac in general, it's difficult for software. I take it your wife did all this when you weren't around.
Correct.
Yeah, so you don't know exactly what check boxes she missed and things like that. But I think it's in all likelihood you've done what you're good. Look in the system extensions folder, in the libraries and the extensions, kernel extensions you want to look for. These are all things that can modify Mac's behavior on startup. But if you've been pretty careful about cleaning it, I think you can get rid of most of it. I don't think you have to worry.
And a tip for those who deal with a flash pop-up on Mac, I did notice, and I set it up on hers, to set the flash to auto-update.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to worry about the pop-up.
Yeah, Adobe's fixed this problem. For a while, you had to manually update Flash, Adobe Reader, and its other programs. Now they do it automatically. So ignore a pop-up. This is a very common way of getting bad stuff on your system because everybody, we're so used to, Flash needs an update again. Oh, boy. We're used to that. So it seems logical. I was trying to watch a video, and boom. And instead, she probably did get Flash, but she also got a lot of other stuff. You sounds like you fixed it.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, don't be too hard on your wife. But it does underscore this larger problem, which is if you go see, there's the ethical issue of pirated stuff, and we shouldn't do that. But there's also a purely practical issue when you go to sites where pirated stuff is available. Well, by definition, these guys are sketch, and you don't know what you're getting. So it's if you're going to do that, you've got to really be careful. Be very aware. Instant karma gonna get you. Evelyn, on the Kenai Peninsula in Alaska. That sounds so exotic, Evelyn.
Well, it's Kenai is how we pronounce it.
Kenai,
yes.
Kenai. Kenai.
Yes,
All
and
right.
where the mighty King Salmon rule.
Oh, I remember being up in, I think it was Ketchikan a few years ago in the summer, watching the salmon swim upstream. It was so beautiful. So amazing. You live in a beautiful part of the world.
Thank you.
A little cold this time of year, but...
Actually, we're not much colder than Northern California's been with all the snow. In fact, they've got a lot more snow than we have.
Aren't you lucky?
Yeah.
So are you worried you broke your camera? What happened?
Yeah, it's kind of a doorstop. Well, I bought a set from somebody, and I was working so much I didn't ever get around to learning how to use it. So now that I'm retired, I thought, well, might as well break it out.
Good.
So I did, but I played with it without reading the directions, and I'm somebody that's curious, and I pulled out the memory card with it turned on.
Yeah.
And it didn't like that, and it won't do anything since.
Oh, that wouldn't break the camera. The reason they tell you not to do that is more for the memory card than the camera.
Well, I have a bunch of memory cards with it. I bought it from a guy that had it for a few years.
That wouldn't break the camera. There may be something else wrong with the camera.
And I've put in several more memory cards, and it still says it doesn't have any memory, and I changed that. I pulled out the battery.
Okay, hang on. We got to take a break, but hang on because I want to talk some more. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More to come right after this. Ah, so the camera says no memory.
Yeah, it says there's no memory card in it, but the memory card is in it, and it came with a bunch of them. So I tried different ones, and so I don't know whether they're one of the.
So here's what I would do: turn off the camera, take out the card, take out the battery.
I did.
And you let it sit for a while.
Right.
Then you put the card back in, you put the battery back in, you turn it on, and it still says, "I can't see any memory."
Yes.
And you can't format it at that point, right? Because it doesn't see anything.
No, it won't do anything.
Yeah.
Because it says there's no memory in the camera. It seems like you should be able to do stuff with it until you actually want to save a picture, but nope, it won't do anything.
Wow. So it does sound like maybe, I bet you have a lot of static electricity up there in the winter, yeah?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. It may. I mean, I've never heard of this happening. The reason they say don't pull the card out when the camera's on is because it could be writing to the card, and so you could damage the card. But on or off, it's conceivable that pulling out the card could damage the reader in the camera, and I think that might be what's wrong.
Is that? I mean, it's an old camera. It's no sense spending a lot of money.
No, I wouldn't. Here's the things I would try.
It came with like 3 lenses, and I thought, well, geez, maybe I should just try to get in. There's a K70.
Yeah, those Pentaxes are great cameras. The lenses are much more expensive than the body.
Really?
Yeah, but before you give up on this body, there should be in the menu somewhere a reset the camera to factory conditions. Which model is it? It's a Pentax K what?
ISTD.
ISTD.
And then I've got the book with it, and it didn't give me any kind of reset. I took it to my camera club. I thought, well, maybe there's a little hole where you poke in a paper clip or something.
Yeah.
They didn't know anything. They said, yeah, it ruins them. It zaps the computer if you pull the card out. That was all.
Well, I've never experienced that, but there is a way to reset the ISTD. I'm looking at the ISTD operating manual, and you could see it at page 126 if you've got one. On the main menu, you can resets all settings other than date, time, language, video. This might be, it's worth a try anyway. You select reset on the main menu, press the 4-way controller button to display the reset screen, and then you press the OK button. So on page 126 of the manual.
Oh, okay. I've got the book here, resetting to default settings.
Yeah, at least try that.
I looked through the book trying to find something. And
yeah. I mean, I don't know if this will work, but at least try that.
Okay. I will.
Yeah, and then you may be able to, if that doesn't work, you can download the firmware for the camera from Pentax if they still offer it, and just like a computer, reflash the firmware. You'll have to connect it via a USB cable to the computer. I would do that. I would do that as well. And then the last thing to do, it's an old camera. Who knows how well taken care of it was? It could be just Did it ever work? You did take pictures and read them, right?
I didn't play with it very much when I bought it. I did, it would take a picture, but I really didn't do anything with it. It sat in the bag, and then I ended up moving, and then finally
it could just be.
Oh yeah, geez, this has sat for about 3 years, so maybe I should use it.
It could just be worn out. I would guess that you could update if you can get the firmware. It's a 15-year-old camera, so they may not have the firmware on the site anymore. But if you can get the firmware, try that as well. But you kind of nailed it. Those lenses, glass is glass, and it doesn't it doesn't get antiquated, and those are probably the most expensive part of the system.
What do you think of the newer?
They're great, and you know what? They'd be much better than your ISTD.
Reviews on this camera weren't very good.
No, and that was 14 years ago.
And the K70 seems kind of nice.
The K70 is superb.
Out of my price range, I have.
Well, there might be a less expensive. You just got to make sure that the old lenses will work with the new body, because sometimes they change the mounts. I think the Pentax mount has been consistent though. You know, the best thing to do, go to, I don't know if there's a camera store anywhere near you.
No.
You're kind of in the wilderness there.
Well, there's Stewart's in Anchorage if they're still open.
So the next time you get to Anchorage.
50-mile drive.
Yeah, next time you get to Anchorage, I'd bring it. And because a new body, there's a 14-year-old digital camera, that's pretty primitive compared to what we have today.
Yeah, my G9 is newer than that.
Oh, yeah, your G9's a great camera.
You know what? My cell phone takes better pictures.
Your cell phone's a bigger. This is right. Your camera is a 6-megapixel camera. That's pretty old.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't hurt to get the least expensive Pentax body you can find, and use that.
Use these lenses then.
Yeah, that'd be. The lenses are worth something. They really are.
Yeah, all I need is a 50 millimeter, and I would have everything I need.
Exactly. So maybe that's the best solution. But I would try the reset and all that stuff. Pentax still uses the K-mount, I'm pretty sure, right? They haven't changed that. So
I think so.
Yeah, so that's really good. That means that those lenses are going to work on any camera. The focal lengths will be different because the sensor will be a different size. But 6 megapixels, you really wouldn't want to use that camera anyway. Like you said, your camera phone's 10 times better.
Yeah, and it's just a little Moto Go phone from AT&T. I don't have an iPhone.
Yeah, so but you got a nice system there. It'd be nice to kind of get something a little more modern. Don't spend a lot of money, but a little more modern, and you'd be happy.
Okay.
All right. Good. But do try resetting it just to see.
Here, I'll make you some king salmon roe.
Oh, do you ever cure your salmon?
Well, yeah, I smoke salmon, but I only catch reds. I don't have a boat anymore. It's too hard to catch salmon from the bank. But somebody gave me king eggs last summer, and I made a whole bunch of roe out of it.
I hear the roe is fantastic.
Not caviar, not roe. If you call it roe, that's cured for bait. But I made it into caviar. King's makes good caviar.
I've heard that. Was it good?
Yeah, it is. You just rinse it basically, and put a little salt with it, and then rinse it. It takes about 20 minutes to make it.
Wow, I want some.
And I use you ever play handball?
Yeah.
I use a handball racket to rub it through to get rid of the membrane. And
how clever!
A quick way to get rid of the membrane if you ever want to.
Evelyn, you're a fount of wisdom.
Well, I've been here 32 years, and actually in about 3 months is the anniversary of when they caught the nearly 100-pounder, and they haven't caught one since.
Wow.
And they caught that the same year I got here, 32 years ago.
What fun. Yeah. Well, I have to run, but it was great talking to you. Stay warm, have some good fishing.
Well, thank you for the advice. I'll try to get the camera operational, so maybe at least I could sell it, and then I'll look for a newer one with these lenses.
All right. Hey, have a great day, Evelyn.
And hey, I love Alec Marquardt too.
Isn't Chris great? Yeah. It makes you want to take pictures, doesn't it? That's what happened.
Chris Marquardt.
Yeah, you got all excited about taking pictures.
Yeah. Siberia and ice. Running around on the ice. That sounds interesting.
Hey, I got to run. Thank you, Evelyn. Have a great day. What's colder, the Kenai Peninsula or Lake Baikal? I don't know. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk about computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches. We talked a little more to Evelyn off the air, and I gave her some tips on resetting. The problem is her camera is 14 years old now. A 14-year-old digital camera, it's not going to be as good as your camera phone. It's really out of date at this point. So even if you can get it working, it's probably not worth it. On the other hand, because she got an SLR, an interchangeable lens camera, she's got lenses. Those lenses don't date. People prize old glass. If it's good glass, we call it glass. That's what we pro photographers call it. If it's a good lens, it's gonna be worth still good. 16 years later, that technology hasn't changed much. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. 888-827-5536. Brad's on the line from Bethlehem, PA. Hello, Brad.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Good, good. I watch all the time on Apple TV and appreciate everything.
Nice.
You do.
Yeah, we have like there's. I didn't do any of them, but there's about 5 different apps you can watch the podcast on the Apple TV. It's nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Really cool. Really cool.
Thanks.
So I take a lot of pictures. Have 2 girls. A lot of family pictures. I'm a teacher, so I take a lot of pictures at school.
Nice.
And have been kind of following your recommendations on how to keep them safe, backing up different ways. So what I do is I back them up on external hard drives, and then I usually keep one at school to keep safe. And then I have a time machine or time capsule, and I use Time Machine to back up at home.
Good.
Now I also tried Google Photos backup.
Yeah, I like adding that to your mix because then you have an off-site backup of the photos too.
Exactly, exactly. And then I can have access to those at school also.
Right.
So I upload. I think I downloaded. I think it's called the Uploader on my iMac.
Yeah, the Google Uploader.
And it,
yeah.
Right, and it was working fine. It uploaded a bunch. Took a couple of days, but it was working.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I'd say maybe the last 6-8 months, I have it where it Google Photos turns on right when my iMac turns on, and as soon as Google Photos starts to upload, all my internet shuts down.
Oh, jeez, that's not good.
I have to go in and pause it, and then sometimes I even have to unplug my router. I have I usually start with the modem. I have based on your recommendation, I have a surfboard.
Oh, nice.
So,
I would start with the router. How old is your router?
The time capsule. I just bought it a year ago. It's the newest version of Apple's.
Oh, it's the time capsule. That's right.
Capsule.
You said that.
I mean, it's a couple years old, but it's,
that's pretty good.
Yeah,
because that would be the first culprit I would suspect, and the reason is, it could be your computer too. But the reason I would suspect the router is because you're uploading a lot of data, and there could be the router's overheating a little bit.
Right, and I'm getting. I have 25 download and only 4 uploads. So I don't know if upload speed has anything.
Yeah, that's not so. Yeah, it's not so fast that it would probably hurt the router. An older router maybe, but you got a brand new high quality, good router, expensive router. Have you just tried turning the Wi-Fi off and on your Mac just to see if that fixes it?
Yeah, I tried a bunch.
And that doesn't fix it?
I didn't try was like uninstalling the backup on the iMac and then reinstalling it,
It shouldn't make your, nothing should make your Wi-Fi fail. That's a bug, obviously. And I'm just trying to figure out where the bug is occurring. What turning the Wi-Fi off and on does, and there's another way to do it, is go into the network settings, the advanced network settings, and renew your lease. Okay. So what that does is it says, "Hey, I want to start over with you, router. I want a new IP address." Right. And sometimes it's conceivable that that something's going on inside your Mac. I don't think it's the Google Uploader. It's just that all that activity is kind of causing something to fail, and it could be it's causing your Mac to forget who it is. And so when you renew and release and renew, you're asking it, remind me who I am again. Let's start this conversation over. See if that fixes it.
Okay.
If it does, that narrows it down, and you don't have to reboot your router or your modem anymore.
Right. And isn't there a setting where you can how often you renew your lease? So what do you recommend?
There is. You shouldn't have to renew it at all.
Okay.
So if that works, there's something not good going on, and you're using El Capitan or Sierra. You're using a recent version of Mac OS.
Sierra, yep.
Sierra, using the latest.
Yep.
I don't know. That's an odd thing. As soon as it starts to upload, and it's not even that much of an upload. I mean, it's trickling it up. As soon as it starts doing that, though, you lose internet in effect. Do you see the Wi-Fi? That little volcano, the Wi-Fi antenna logo in your menu bar. Does that turn off? Do you lose connection to your router?
No, the only thing that I see is when I go into airport utility.
Yeah.
Like either one or both of the things will be usually they're green if it's working.
Yeah.
There'll be a little green light. One will turn yellow.
Oh, that's good. Okay, that's a good clue.
Okay.
That's a good clue. Then I think release renew might work.
Okay.
Because that yellow means it's lost contact with the router. And I don't know where this bug lives. It could live in the router. Certainly, run your airport utility. Make sure your router is up to date. In fact, your airport utility will show you your quality.
Right.
Check that. Boy, that is a very odd bug.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to have to say I don't know what's going on. Maybe somebody has seen this happen. I always haunt the Apple support forums when I get problems like this. The trick is finding the right search term. But that's where people go when these weird things happen. And it's got to be. It could be a bug in the Google Uploader, but is that the only time it happens is with Google Uploader? You don't ever have it happen with your browsing or anything like that?
Honestly, once in a while, I will. Kind of.
So this does happen in other circumstances,
right?
Yeah. That's so. That sounds to me like there is something going on in your network stack on your Mac or in the router itself. So what you want to do is try. You're doing kind of a shotgun approach. Well, reboot everything.
Right.
But try instead to do one thing at a time because it'll narrow down what's going on.
Okay.
And see if you figure it out. Some people in the chat room saying you could try, instead of using DHCP, set a static address for that computer. That's tricky because then other computers join the network and they say, well, wait a minute, that address is in use and so forth. I don't know why this would happen, but it would be a bug that, when the uploader starts to send a lot of traffic upstream, something's crashing. I would almost certainly something's crashing.
And one other thing, I don't know if it's related or not. I know you in the past have said several times you're not the biggest fan of Time Machine.
Yeah, I'm not.
Once in a while, like I just recently started getting, actually it happened twice, a really weird message that says we tried to verify, Apple tried to verify your backup and you need to, I don't know the exact wording, but you need to redo it.
Yeah, Time Machine is funky. This is one of the reasons I don't like it. It's funky. It's not a good system.
Right.
The good news is Apple will be replacing it this year. When they replace the file system, they're moving to something called from HFS Plus to APFS. And one of the nice features of the new file system is a snapshot capability that is a much better way to back up. It's what Time Machine is simulating with a system of symlinks that everybody agrees is funky. So while it's convenient because of the way it works, it makes it very easy. People who don't do backup do it. It has these reliability issues. One of them is exactly as you said. And the problem is sometimes it fails and doesn't tell you it's failed, and then you need it and it's not there. That's not good in a backup. So I'd have a second system of backup just in case. Something like Super Duper. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So hold on a sec. We're chatting in the chat room, Brad, trying to see if anybody in the chat room has any good solutions on this. It's an odd failure. And you say it has happened not just with the Google Uploader, less often, but it's happened with other things.
Right. Yeah, it'll happen once in a while,
So that sounds like it might be router related. It might be bad Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And are you fairly close to your router?
Yeah.
One thing to look for is make sure you're still on your router.
Mm-hmm.
If there are other Wi-Fi signals in the area, sometimes a computer will get promiscuous. And this is the zero config thing, and it doesn't work very well. And it will say, "Oh, there's a better Wi-Fi," and it'll join it. And all of a sudden, you've lost internet. So make sure that check the little Wi-Fi drop down in the menu and make sure you're on your Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd check the network settings. Where did you see the yellow light? Is that in the network settings or in the airport?
So if, when this would happen, I would go into airport utility.
Yeah.
And then,
so that's I've seen that yellow light. That means you don't have connectivity, and you can actually click on it and get more information. That will tell you something about what's going wrong there.
Okay.
Yeah, it will say I've lost internet. It might say I don't have an IP address. I've lost internet.
Right.
See if you can fix it without rebooting stuff.
Okay, so start with
with renew. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the best I can think of. What grade do you teach, Brad?
Fifth grade.
Nice. Do you like it?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I've been there. Same school, same room, same grade for 12 years. Have a great team.
It must feel good. I mean, you're making such a difference, right?
I think so, yeah.
I know it's hard work and it can be challenging and you don't get the support you'd need from, the school district and stuff sometimes. Right. But boy, those kids that you're everything to them. So that's really great.
Appreciate
you're doing
it.
That. Yeah,
and we try to do a lot of tech stuff. I run Twitter accounts and
nice
newsletter and newsletter using Adobe Spark, which is amazing.
Oh, neat.
Adobe Spark page.
I love Spark. Cool. Yeah, I thought that'd be great for education. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're doing little presentations and things.
Right. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. We do like once a month. We send it out to the families and other people in the district can see it. So it's really cool. It's fun.
Oh, that's so great.
And I've used a lot of the things that you talk about on your show. So I appreciate it.
Oh, Brad, that's great. Somebody I saw on Twitter or somewhere a picture of a classroom before and after the teacher got to it. The basic classroom, and then the teacher gets in there, and there's all that great stuff. And you guys spend out of pocket, I know, and you do a lot of extra work. And so, thank you. Thank you. It's really important work you're doing.
I appreciate it.
All right.
All right.
Have a good one. All right. Take care, Brad. Bye-bye.
Yep. All right. Bye-bye.
Vinyl box set from George Harrison. Wow. So you think it's Google? You think it's Google Photos, the uploader that's doing that? Knocking out his internet? No, really? Boy, that would be bad behavior. Yes, I'm sorry I burped there. Normally I can hit the microphone in time. It's been happening more often as I get older. I think that happens. This is why you don't get a lot of old announcers. Their body starts rebelling. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo. That's the phone number. I haven't had problems with the Google Photos uploader. I use it, and I recommend it. Google Photos is one of the great free resources of the world. If you don't use it yet, if you use a smartphone or a computer, you should check it out. What Google does is allow you unlimited upload of your photos and storage on the Google Cloud, and then they apply. If you go. Woke up my echo. I gotta mute that thing. And then applies all sorts of artificial intelligence to your photos, giving you some really excellent search capabilities. Really useful stuff. Face recognition, so you can categorize by people. It has sharing. It is free, and I commend Google for giving it away. Of course, when it's Google, you always you wonder, well, what do they get for free? It's very important for people when, you look at Facebook's free, Twitter's free, many of Google's services are free. Well, this costs some money. How are they making that money back? In Google's case, they make a lot of money on search, and I think that they do subsidize other tools that they don't make direct money from, like Google Photos, because it encourages you just to like Google and use Google Search, and just the more you use the internet, Google's always said this, the more money we make, because Google's everywhere on the internet. And so when you see Google ads, that makes money for Google. When you use Google Search, it makes money for Google. So they make billions and billions. So it clearly is doing all right. So it is completely possible that Google Photos is just, a freebie. And the value they get out of it is just the goodwill, but I suspect there is other value, and this is what I would guess it is. It's not about looking at your photos and selling ads based on what you take pictures of. I could almost promise it's not that. But I do think they're using photos to improve their artificial intelligence software. We know they've done this in the past. For instance, they offered a service and killed it after a few years called Goog 411. You remember that? Instead of using your telco's 411, which costs you 25 cents a call, you could, for free, use Google's 411 service, look up phone numbers and so forth. And they even said, they admitted this, it wasn't an admission, they said one of the things we're doing with this is gathering voice samples to improve voice recognition technology. And at some point they said, okay, we've got enough voice samples now. We're going to turn the service off. I suspect Google Photos is the biggest direct benefit to Google from Google Photos is that they're tuning their photo recognition algorithms. But it is completely reasonable when you and I encourage you to do it, when you get something free, you probably should. I would not make the assumption, oh, they're just being nice. There's some other value to them, and it's worth, especially on the internet, thinking about what that value is. And sometimes it is, altruistic. They're just being nice. Mostly not. Igor's on the line from North Hollywood, California. Hi, Igor.
Good afternoon, Leo.
Welcome to the show.
I'm having a problem with not with the computer, with the cell phone.
Okay.
I have an iPhone 6, and for some reason I charge it overnight. Before, the charge could get all the way up to 100. Now, after I turn it off, get it off from the charge, it goes only 96, 97%.
That's not
what's going on here.
That's not too bad. I should point out, though, Apple's done a recall of iPhone 6Ss and I believe some 6s because of bad batteries and in particular bad battery reporting. So you should definitely look online. They have serial numbers and make sure your phone is not affected by that. You may get a free upgrade if it is. But that difference isn't huge. Their problem was more like phones would get to 60% battery and then die. Then, like, it was reporting that, hey, we're more than half full, and then there wouldn't be any juice left at all.
I'm just afraid that mine is on the way there.
It could be. Batteries do wear. Your phone is 3 years old, right? 2 years old.
2 years old.
2 years old. So all lithium-ion batteries have a certain number of charging cycles. And then after a while, after, say, 500 full charges, discharges, that's a pretty typical number. That'd be a couple of years, right? If you charge it every day. A couple of years.
Yes, mine is only one. I'm sorry.
One, all right.
1 years old.
But it could be, conceivably, it could have worn out a little sooner. What happens is their capacity declines. So it could merely be that your battery is aging and then it only can get to 96%. It's reporting 100. You charged it till it was full. But really, when it started to look at it, it said, yeah, it's not full. There are ways to look at the battery more closely. Apple has on the iPhone a battery entry in the settings. You might look at that, see what's using battery, see what your battery looks like. I don't think on an iPhone, and maybe the chat room will correct me if I'm wrong, on Android phones there are tools that will actually say what the battery capacity is and how it's declined from its capacity when new. I don't think there's any way to do that on an iPhone because Apple doesn't allow that kind of thing. But with other lithium-ion batteries, that's what happens. They get, after a year, they can only charge up to 90%. I know it's saying 100%, but really, as soon as you disconnect it, it's going, oh well, it really was only 96%.
So it's natural.
I think it's normal, is what I'm saying. I think that if it starts to decline more than that, time to go to the Apple Store. And in the meantime, I would check to make sure you don't have one of the defective batteries that Apple is replacing for free.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Lithium-ion batteries are really a smart technology. You're familiar, I'm sure, in the old days with nickel metal hydride batteries, and even older than nickel cadmium or NiCad batteries. Those batteries needed some tender, loving care. NiCads, you had to discharge and fully charge. You had to condition them. If you only half charged them on a regular basis, after a while, the NiCad, it was something called the memory effect. The NiCad would say, yeah, that's full charge when you get half charge. It would just not know that it could go more. None of that applies to lithium-ion. The rules of lithium-ion are pretty straightforward. You don't want to fully discharge them. Most well-designed phones and devices won't let you do that, but you don't want it to go all the way to zero. And you have a limited number of charging cycles, so you don't want to unnecessarily charge and discharge the phone. You can buy them, you can download them, programs that supposedly recondition lithium-ion batteries by fully discharging and recharging. Don't do those. They're bad for the battery. That's not good. The only other thing you can do that's bad for a lithium-ion battery is overcharge it. And again, anything well-designed, certainly anything from Apple, will prevent that. So you don't have to worry about that. But overcharging a lithium-ion battery could overheat it, which could cause it to wear more rapidly and ultimately could cause it to explode. So you don't want to do that. We've seen, poorly designed battery chargers, mostly, no names from manufactured in China that are not properly set up. But anything you're buying from a good company, any big name company is going to have the circuitry to prevent under and overcharging. Best to keep your lithium-ion battery plugged in whenever you're not using it. Mostly that's so it doesn't discharge unnecessarily. But really, there's not much you need to do to keep a lithium-ion battery working. It's going to wear out after a few years. And there's nothing you can do about that either. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Heat is the only real enemy of lithium-ion. Don't let it get hot. And there's no reason to discharge or recharge it artificially. Use it. And when you're not using it, keep it plugged in. Who likes the new Instagram? Yeah, and don't drop it. That's right. Kim Schaffer streaming live from the Bahamas. That's funny. Oh, listen to the beach. Kim's on vacation. Man, now are we jealous now? No, she's not in the chat room. That's Facebook Live she's streaming on. It's funny. Yeah, she said I have to go get a drink. Dude, this is the iPhone 7S Plus. Or 7. It's not an S, right? It's just a 7. iPhone 7 Plus. It is a good looking. This is the jet black, and I really like how it's a little fingerprinty. Should get my I carry two generally. I don't necessarily carry them, but I alternate. Sometimes I carry them both. When I was a kid, my dad always carried a pocket handkerchief, a hand lens, because he was a geologist, so he's always looking at rocks, and a pocket knife, right? Maybe not the hand lens, but shouldn't a gentleman always carry a handkerchief and a pocket knife, just in case? I don't know why. In case, you... But the reason I'm thinking of that is I got kind of a high-tech handkerchief. A couple of high school kids. It's actually really a great story at handkerchiefpro.com. They're high school students, and they sew these and sell them online. And they've actually created quite a little business. But what's great is they're not you could blow your nose on it, but they have microfiber on the inside. So really, today's kids carry around, if they carry around handkerchiefs, it's not to hand a damsel in distress or to blow your nose on or to dab at the corners of your mouth, but really it's for cleaning your stuff, cleaning your phones and your tablets, cleaning the screens. The little microfiber cloth does a great job. See, gentlemen are carrying handkerchiefs again, but not for the same old reasons. 8888, ask Leo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Back to the phone. You know what? Josh, let's make this the product of the week. Give these kids a little boost. Handkerchiefpro.com. A handkerchief that does double duty. Back to the phones we go. Marcello is on the line from Northridge, California. Hi, Marcello.
Hello, Master Leo. I'm so glad I got to talk to you.
I'm so glad you called. Thanks for calling.
Everything was fine with my PC tower and connecting to the internet. Spectrum bought out Time Warner.
Yes, I do.
A couple weeks later after that happened, Spectrum changed our internet plan. I had the Roadrunner, but they did something, and I was not able to connect to the internet. No matter what I did, the DHCP release, renew, all that, everything, my computer would tell me everything is fine, my Windows 10. Finally, the tech came out, and he disconnected my router, and we were able to connect to the internet.
Okay.
And I was just happy that I was able to connect to the internet because I played Guild Wars 2, and it was the 28th day when you get a whole bunch of...
Oh, isn't that awful? The worst possible time to get disconnected.
I know. But the good thing is, ArenaNet saved my progress, and I was able to get my 28-day treasure. Yeah.
So here's what was going on. You had a modem, cable modem from Time Warner that had a router built into it. Maybe you didn't know that.
No. I used my D-Link router.
Well, I know you did. You had two routers. You just didn't realize it. And you were doing something called double NAT. So, and this is not unusual. The cable company, at the minimum, they're going to give you a router. Actually, I always prefer to buy my own routers because they're more up to date. And, I don't have to pay $10 a month to rent it. But so you can buy cable modems. If you ask Spectrum, they probably have some recommended cable modems you could buy. And it would save you money after a year. It'd take about a year to pay it off, and then you wouldn't be paying rental. But if you use the one they provide, very often it's not just a cable modem. That's the minimum you need. It's also a router built into the same box. And I know that this is the fact because your tech was able to take your router out, and you're still able to use the internet on the cable modem. And
right, but I was thinking that I was without a router.
You're not, though. If you can use more than one computer, you're not. Are you using your internet with your phone or your other computers or something?
No, just my PC.
And is the tower physically connected with an Ethernet cable?
Yes, I don't trust Wi-Fi.
Okay.
I don't like it.
So you don't technically have to have a router to use a cable modem if you're only using it with one computer. But my guess is you are using a router, that the cable modem has a router built in. A couple of ways you could verify that. Look in the box and Google the router name and model number and so forth. You could also log into it. You could see what the
192, 168.
That's it. 1.1, or it depends on the make.
0,
yeah. Have you ever logged into your router? I mean, to your cable modem?
Yes. When I first got the Bell router, I used to.
So that is it. So when you put your router on there, you were doing something called double natting. The router that you got, the modem router you got from Time Warner, was doing DHCP, right? It was assigning internet addresses. But then that went into another router, your Netgear, that was also doing that. And that can cause problems. It didn't, but it didn't. You worked all right. It's fine. One day it did. And so the tech rightly realized that's what was going on. He didn't explain it, which is...
No, he didn't tell me. He didn't tell me any of that.
It's kind of annoying.
He confirmed me. I'm the idiot that offered the solution, saying my router is faulty. It's failed. He just agreed with me.
Yeah, it's not failed. It's just you had a conflict. So what you could do is log into the Spectrum modem router and turn off DHCP and let your Netgear do it. Or conversely, you could turn off routing in your Netgear and have it bridge, put it in bridge mode.
D-Link.
Or D-Link. Sorry, it doesn't really matter. So you could have the D-Link in bridge mode. Well, only one of the two devices should be doing the routing.
Right.
The network address translation.
You're Master Leo.
Well, I may be completely wrong, but the fact be my guess that that's what's going on.
Okay, Leo, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it.
You could put that D-Link back into service if you felt like it. I almost always will go out. You can a good cable modem. First, you got to check, make sure your internet service provider allows it. As far as I know, everybody does. Comcast does. Cox does. I bet you anything Spectrum does. And then see what cable modems they recommend. Almost certainly, you're going to want one that is DOCSIS 3, DOCSIS 3. That's the latest standard for cable modems. That'll give you the maximum throughput. I use an Eris Surfboard. The SB, I think it's a 6183 is the model number. Because it has multiple channels. It's the fastest cable modem out there. It was $89. Now, my cable internet provider charges me $10 a month to rent a modem. So in 8 or 9 months, I've paid for it, and now I'm saving $10 a month. But there's more than that. It's more than just the savings. It's more modern. It's brand new. Chances are the cable modem you get from your cable company has been used before. It's probably years old. So why not get a new one? The Aris Surfboard 6183, top of the line, and it's under $100. You can get it on Amazon, you get it at Newegg, lots of places to get it. That doesn't do any routing. All that does is take the incoming coax and turn it into Ethernet. It has one Ethernet port on the back. If you want to have more than one system on it, then you'll need to get your own router. You might get a Wi-Fi router if you're going to use Wi-Fi. And that also gives you the chance to use something more modern. And I'll tell you another reason why you might want to do this. These new mesh routers that are all the rage right now. Wireless internet is a pain, right? It doesn't work very well. If your house is bigger than 1,500 square feet, you probably don't get Wi-Fi reception in the corners or upstairs. So a very hot category right now is these mesh routers. EERO is probably the best known, but Google makes one too now, the Google Wi-Fi. Netgear sells one. D-Link, everybody sells one. There are a lot of them. And they, in every case, these guys want to be your only router. They don't want to sit behind a router. They do their job better. They do the mesh better. They optimize your network better if they control the routing, the DHCP. So if you're going to use one of those, and eventually I suspect we'll all be using those, you want to make sure it's connected just to a dumb cable modem. It'll work best. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. More of your calls coming up. Actually, I'm thinking of the next thing I'm going to do is I have Comcast Business, and they've got this weird big old D-Link cable modem router, and you know I don't know. So I'm gonna I'm putting it off because it means I called a Comcast, right? Always fun. But I want to do is I bought an Aris 6183, and I just want to replace the Comcast business class modem router with the Aris, and then I can use my Eros on there, or I'm not sure what I'll use on there. I have that great Asus AC3200, which is a really nice router. Thing is, I'm trying not to. What I notice is I get better Wi-Fi in my house when I don't have two separate Wi-Fi networks. So I'm trying not to put that Comcast business class basically is just used at this point for my home entertainment, my 4K home entertainment center, because it doesn't have any caps, bandwidth caps. Also, it's not as fast as the Comcast consumer version by any means, but it's more consistent, right? Yeah, I don't use their voice, so I don't really care. Voice does complicate it, right? Yeah, so what I have to do is I have to say, look, I'm going to swap out your gear for my gear. I'll bring your gear back. Here's the new MAC address. They have to then, in their system, put in the MAC address, and then all should be well. No, well, Boz, both networks are both frequencies, 2.4 and 5, and that's kind of ideal. So I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I could do that. You know what I should do is if I could find A, right? Put it on 802.11A only. That would work. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. Last few minutes of the show. Oh, no. Let's see if we can get a few more calls in before I go. John in Fallbrook. Hey, John. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, thank you very much, Leo. Give me a second. Maybe I can get you off this. Oh, no.
No, it's working. Yeah, it's good. It's working.
Fat fingers, old body, poor technical. Hey, thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
A couple of years ago, I tried to find the now it's old new brick house, and I never could find it down there.
You were in town and you didn't come see us because you couldn't find it?
I was living in Nevada for several years.
Oh, I wish you'd come to visit. Yeah, we have an open studio. We love having. I'm a attention seeker. I like having an audience in studio. It's fun. Well, next time you're up this way, we're on Google Maps. You just enter the name of the company, which is Twit. Yeah, and then you can get directions. Google will tell you how to go.
This was like 2010 or something.
Yeah, we were on Google Maps. Yeah.
Chicken and egg or egg.
In fact, you were there for the Butter and Eggs Day parade, huh? Well, then you wouldn't have been able to park anyway, so it's probably just as well. There's no parking then.
I have a bit of a challenge with a DVD Blu-ray surround sound player by Samsung, and it's 4 years old or something.
Yeah.
I bought it to match the Samsung TV at the same time, and a couple things happening. But the main issue is I have several DVDs. A couple of them are movies bought from Amazon, and a couple of are exercise videos that my wife bought online.
Yeah.
And they'll play the exercise videos now.
Yeah.
But they won't play the commercial DVDs, but they used to.
Interesting. Is your DVD player connected to the internet?
It can be. It was, and I did the latest update.
When you put it connected to the internet and then put the disc in, just sometimes this is a copy. It's a copy protection scheme. They go out and see if the DVD, if the Blu-ray keys have been revoked, which they haven't. They never have been. But they do. It may want to get online before it plays the DVD.
Now, when it wouldn't play, I went online on the device. So I was.
Oh, so you were online. Okay.
And then I went to Samsung and did the latest update. Right.
It's not. But understand, it's not an update. What happens? They call it an update, but what happens is it's part. See, when DVDs were first created, they put a copy protection scheme called CSS on there. And a high school kid named John, we call him DVD John, cracked it in a month. and forevermore, DVDs have been piratable because they didn't build in a mechanism to change the key. So everybody knows the key, and that's it. It's done. So when they made the Blu-ray standard, they said, well, we're not going to do that again. We will allow for revocable keys. And now they've never revoked the key, so it's kind of didn't matter. Nevertheless, many Blu-rays, commercial Blu-rays particularly, will go out and check before they'll play. So it's not that you're updating the DVD player. You're not. It's just that it has to allow this online check. Now, you say it was online, so...
It was online.
Yeah, so then this isn't the issue.
What I mean by that is that when I did go out to update, it was
able to do that.
Password was in and everything was there. So
okay.
That's one issue. The other issue is that when I'm watching surround sound or listening to surround sound, it switches from HDMI 1 to 2 automatically, and then I got to go back up to 1.
Isn't that annoying? I have that problem too. That's something called CEC. And the problem with CEC is it's designed so that you can turn on a device. The device will then go out and tell the AV receiver and or the TV, hey, over here, look at me, I'm online, and switch everything over, which is fine, but you see the problem here. Probably is there anything on that HDMI 2 that it's switched over to?
No.
Nothing at all?
No.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. But that's probably what's happening. When a TV switches ports just automatically, it's responding, in this case, to a spurious request to change to a different HDMI port. I don't know why it's thinking that. My guess is you've got a cable issue. So the first thing I would do is change the cable, get a new cable for your Blu-ray player. Is it going directly into the TV, or do you have something in between?
Directly.
Okay. I bet you need a new cable.
Okay.
All right.
So that would solve the automatic.
I think they're related. Yeah. I think they're related.
Oh.
Yeah.
But the other DVD plays on the old cable.
Yeah. But there's copy protection in DVDs, something called HDCP. There's another system. And if it's not compliant, it will break the chain and it won't play. If you have a cable that's frayed or broken or not working properly, that could also cause a handshake issue and keep it from playing. So at least that's one simple thing to try.
Okay.
Before you go and get a new player or a new TV, I would change the cable.
Yeah. So if I went to the new player, what would you recommend?
Well, nowadays, if you're going to buy a new player, I'd probably get one of the new. Samsung's great. Nothing wrong with Samsung. And they now offer UHD There's a new Blu-ray format. Now, you need a 4K TV to see it, but but why buy a Blu-ray player that'll be obsolete if you ever upgrade your TV? So I would get a UHD Blu-ray player. They're not much more expensive than the regular Blu-ray players. They handle all the old movies, but they'll also be compatible with the new format. And we're seeing more movies come out in UHD. So, and I presume at some point you're going to get a new TV, and if you do, it'll be a 4K TV. So you might as well have a 4K player. Don't spend a lot on an HDMI cable. They're cheap. Get an HDMI 2.0 cable. You can go to monoprice.com, get them for $10. Sometimes you go into a stereo store or a TV store, and they'll say, well, what you need is a special gold-plated cable. That'll be $250. Yes, somebody sells those. People sell those. People make them. They're no better in any way than a $10 cable. You don't need gold cables. So get a good but cheap cable, and Monoprice has good but cheap cables. You did update the player firmware. That's a good idea. I think that's at least that's the next thing I'd try. Somebody says they really like the Oppo UHD. Oppo's been made great. OPPO, Chinese company, makes great Blu-ray players, and they have a new UHD. It's probably expensive. That's kind of a video file player. Time flies when you're having fun, when you're geeking out, and yes, we're out of time. Thanks to Crystal for being our musical director, filling in today. Thanks, of course, to Heather Hammond, also filling in today, answering the phones. How come everybody else is on? I should take, I'm not going to take vacation. Chris is in Siberia. Kim Schaffer's in the Bahamas. I don't know where Mike is. Anyway, I'm glad you were here, and I'm here, and I'll be here next week, and I hope you'll come by and bring your friends, too, as we talk high tech. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Don't forget the website, techguylabs.com. All week long, lots more tech on our Twit network, twit.tv. If you like to hearing about tech, whether it's security or Macs or Windows, we got something for you, twit.tv and techguylabs.com. I'm Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Have a great geek week. See you next time. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, it's just the tip of the iceberg. We do nearly 30 shows on the Netcast network. It's called TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. You even get your daily dose of tech news with Tech News Today. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.